Hello, Nightmare Nation.
Hello.
I'm Anna.
I'm Annie.
This is your podcast.
Welcome to the show where we talk about scary things and you listen to them and then you get scared and we get scared and we're all scared together.
Such scared.
Such
like
scared.
We're scaredy pants.
Yeah.
Scaring the pants off you.
I have my scared pants on right now.
Wearing Depends?
No.
Told you to wear them last time.
No, I didn't follow your advice.
Pants.
Maybe.
Okay, well.
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So today, we're coming at you on this chilly Minnesota day where it's like 17 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's terrible.
Halloween came and went and now we're in full-fledged winter.
It's great.
Yep.
So, we are chatting with you today about the Valaska.
Valaska? Did we move to Alaska all of a sudden?
I guess. Let me try that again.
The
Villisca Axe Murder House.
This is a really interesting story because it's the first case that we've really done that's been completely, unsolved and is very mysterious. I mean, I guess some of the other things have been sort of mysterious too, but this one I feel like is not cut and dry at all. There's
so many things that you can go back and forth with.
Yeah.
And we got this suggestion from one of our listeners.
So thank you.
He was my coworker.
I love it.
I worked with. His name is Jim. So thank you, Jim. He actually used to be a paranormal investigator.
That is so cool.
Down in Iowa, which is where this house is located.
We should interview him. That is so cool.
Yeah.
It was a good suggestion.
So Jim, if you're listening...
Thanks, Jim.
You need to be on this podcast, like I've been telling you for weeks upon weeks, so we can interview you.
Oh, there it is. That was a burp.
So, thank you, Jim. So the Villisca Axe Murder House, I was so intrigued once I actually started reading about this. I'm fascinated with murders and serial killers.
Yeah, this is one of those
which is weird.
Yeah, no, it's not weird, and I feel like it's becoming less weird and more people are finally opening up about the fact that they're just as disturbed as we are and are really fascinated by true crime. And it's one of those fun episodes where a fun true crime story blends with a fun paranormal haunting story, which isn't always the case. I mean, it's sort of been the case for a couple of the things we've talked about on the podcast already, but I'm excited to talk about this one because
it's so interesting.
Something horrifying really happened.
I'm just so fascinated by people and what they do and why. Why do they think that they can take another life?
Have you seen Mindhunters? Have we talked about this?
I've started watching it.
It's so good.
But I haven't sat down and actually watched it.
It's amazing. You need to watch it. And you were a psych major. You would appreciate... It just ties in perfectly with the kind of crime that this is, where it's you have to put yourself in that person's shoes and what on earth would possess someone to do something so horrible. And that's what Mindhunters gets at. It's such a good show in that it's about the creation of that unit of the FBI that does the psychological profiling.
Yep.
And their entire job is to profile these people who have done these horrible things and then try to be able to predict people who might do that in the future. So it's super cool because it's true crime and it's psychology and it's got all the juicy details that we love to hear about and secretly stay awake thinking about, but don't want to admit to anyone that we were fascinated by it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, we're telling you guys now, so here it is.
Yeah, here it is.
All right, so the Villisca Axe Murder House. So kind of a little bit of the history behind it. So this is going back from, it's June 9th through the 11th of 1912. This house was owned by the Moore family, and the whole kind of story behind it. So there were 8 people in the house when the murders happened. So it was the Moore family and then 2 kids who were staying over for a sleepover.
Sleepover, okay.
Yep. So it was Lena and Ina Stillinger.
Were they siblings?
Yeah. They
Lena
were sisters.
and Ina.
Yeah.
Who the hell names their kids Lena and
they
Ina?
Have to rhyme.
Aww.
Oh, it's
That's
so
really cute. It's obnoxious, but super cute.
Right?
We're Lena and Ina. Can you imagine if they were twins?
Oh, I can tell you they're not.
Oh,
that'd be super
That'd be
cute.
super funny. Lena and Ina. Aww,
adorable.
babies.
So if anyone's having twins, there's some names for you, friends.
Yeah, just make them rhyme.
Yeah.
Like Mary
Perfect.
and...
Gary.
If it's a boy and a girl. Or just name your daughter Gary and she'll hate you forever.
Fine. Tyler is the same way. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were invited to stay over at the Morris house after a Sunday children's program was done. So it was just like a fun program for the kids to be able to join in and hang out, learn about Jesus and God.
Jesus.
And it was at a Presbyterian church in Iowa. So the program ended. It was around like 9:30 at night. And the Moore family, along with the Stillinger girls, they all walked back to the home. So they arrived back at the home probably around like 9:45, 10 o'clock. So they pretty close. It's a small town.
They all got murdered after like Bible camp.
Yep.
Wow, that's so sad.
Right?
That's so awful.
I know.
That's so sad. The irony is just so... Okay, sorry, continue.
So they all went home, not fully sure what happened, if the girls stayed up late, whatever, whatnot. So the next morning, which would be, I believe it was June 11th of 1912, Mary Peckham was a neighbor. She was out doing her chores early in the morning. This was around probably 5, 6 o'clock in the morning or so. And she noticed that the Moores weren't up doing their chores yet. So she ended up going over between like 7, 8 o'clock she let out the chickens that they had. Aww. Just to make sure that some of the chores got done because they weren't outside yet.
God, neighbors are so nice back then.
Right? I know.
My neighbors are like... we have people that live down the cul-de-sac from us who we've been in our house like 3 years now, and I literally don't know what they look like. Like, I have never met them. I've never seen them. We've never exchanged a single word. I literally could not tell you if they walked up straight to my face, like who they were. And she's like, I'll go let out your chickens, just to make sure that stuff gets done. Maybe they're all hungover and they need like an extra nap or something.
After that Jesus camp.
Everyone loves to get drunk at Jesus camp.
Yeah, exactly.
What else do you do at Jesus camp? You get wasted.
Yes, that's what I do.
And then your neighbors let out your chickens.
Yes,
that's fine.
It's exactly. So between 7 and 8 o'clock, Mary went back over and tried to like knock on the front door, walked around, calling the Moores. No
7, 8 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Right? I'm like,
she's like,
people are probably still sleeping.
No one's up yet. It's 7 a.m.
I know.
Why haven't I seen my neighbors yet? I better knock on the door.
Right.
Jesus.
Like, I would have been so mad if someone ever came to knock on my door at 7 in the morning.
We had our neighbors across the street. Quick sidebar. Our neighbors across the street have really cute little kids, and one of them came and rang our doorbell at like 8 in the morning on a Saturday to tell us that we had a bunny in our front yard.
I would have been so mad. Like, we
were both really pissed. We were like, what the hell? Who's ringing our doorbell at 8 in the morning on a Saturday? What the hell? And we go, and it's like this 6-year-old girl, and she's like, excuse me, you have a bunny in your yard.
It's like, you can't just be like, girl, go away.
And we were like, oh, really? Oh, that's so fun. And we were trying to be super nice, but we were all pissed at first, and then we're like, oh my God, this is really cute. And we're just like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, you know what? Maybe next time, if it's really early in the morning, people might still be sleeping. So just like maybe knock on the door, and if no one answers, then that's okay. And we were trying to be like super nice about it, but she rang the doorbell and was like, you have a bunny in your yard. I'm like, oh, okay.
Poor kid.
It was really cute.
Just wanted to let you know.
I know. She was so excited. Anyway,
so 7, 8 o'clock, Mary tried the front door, but it was locked. I don't know why you try opening it, but,
Yeah, the first thing I do when my neighbors don't answer the doorbell is
Let me see if I can get in your house.
Yeah, I just try to waltz right in.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if they're not answering, they must not be busy.
Obviously.
So I'll just let myself in.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So she called Ross Moore, which was Josiah's brother. So Josiah is the father.
Okay.
So it's Josiah and Sarah.
So they had 6
Sarah's
kids.
The mom. They had 4 kids.
Wait, sorry, is this the family or the neighbor's family?
Family.
Family
that was murdered.
Okay, sorry.
So Ross.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Ross is Josiah's brother. Josiah is the father who got murdered.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. And then they had 2 kids staying over.
Yes.
So 8 people total.
Correct.
Okay.
So Ross came over. He tried looking through all the windows and was yelling, but no one came out when he was trying to yell and find them. So he used his key that he had to get into the house. So once he actually got into the house, they had a front porch, and then he opened the door, and then he went into the room off the parlor, so in the very front of the house or whatever, there was a small room, and he saw 2 dead bodies, and they were the bodies of the Stillinger girls. So
Lena and Ina?
Yep. Lena was 12 and Ina was 8.
They died together.
They did. Yeah.
Oh, poor
kids.
babies.
Right?
That's so awful.
Mm-hmm.
How old were they? 8?
Lena was 12 and Ina was 8.
Oh.
So little.
So sad.
These poor kids.
Poor babies.
I know. So then Ross ended up leaving and calling the cops, getting them over. And when the police came, they found that everyone else was murdered upstairs. So it was Josiah, the father, at 43, Sarah, the mother, 39, Herman, the oldest son, at 11, Catherine was 9, Boyd was 7, and Paul was 5. And they were...
5?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yep.
That is so... There has to be something so fundamentally wrong with you as a person.
To kill a child.
To kill a freaking 5-year-old. That's so odd. Can you imagine?
Right.
Well, and they call it the Villisca Axe murder house. So theoretically, the murder weapon is not like a quick one and done.
No, it's
like
a bludgeon. Multiple blows.
That's so
needed.
terrible. Poor babies.
Yeah. So all of them were found with their skulls crushed. Literally axed to death.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. So the weird thing, which, like, it's so weird from now knowing how crime scenes are processed, everything, like, the cops take over, no one is allowed in, everything, you need to make sure that you're collecting all of your evidence properly, nothing can be contaminated or anything. But with this case, and why it really technically hasn't been solved, is because word spread so fast in this small town that people were extremely curious about what happened, that the cops lost control of the scene and people were literally like walking through the house.
Oh my god.
To see the scene.
That's
so it's
so
like
bad.
So many people, they said over 100 people.
Oh my god.
Like came by, and so you think that many people contaminating the scene,
touching
like,
stuff, stepping on stuff, moving things.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
no wonder why it's unsolved.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so ridiculous now because of the standards we have in place today to be like, oh my god, I can't believe they let that happen. But like you said, it's like it was like 100 years ago.
Yeah. They
just didn't have the same kind of criminal procedures that we do.
Exactly.
And so yeah, it's no doubt that it just was like overrun by people, and especially in a really small town where everyone knows everybody.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
And that stuff doesn't happen to have 8 people axed to death.
Right.
In a house.
8 people. Not like a mugging or like a robbery went wrong. Like an entire family plus house guests murdered violently. Like no wonder the entire town showed up. I can't believe they had 100 people in the house. That is so crazy.
That's what it said. So all of this information
Those poor
found.
Police officers are like, wait, everyone stop, please. Hold on, please. This is too much. Please don't.
So all of this information was found on VilliscaIowa.com. But so obviously they were all presumed bludgeoned to death by an axe that was left at the scene.
So bludgeoned to death, not like their heads were cut off, like sharp blades.
No, so
right? Like
it was found that I think it may have been the dad that the actual blade side was used on the dad, but all of the other victims, the back side of the axe was used.
And that's
so it was literally a hard blow to the head.
That's even like more sick. You take an axe, you don't just like give them a quick one and done. You literally bludgeon them to death with the blunt side of an axe. Like that is so hateful and rageful. Like what kind of mental state do you have to be in to say like I'm not just gonna cut their head off or like just give them a quick axe to the heart? Like no, I'm gonna literally smash their skulls in with the blunt side of an axe. That is so crazy.
Yep. So it was presumed that the father Josiah was first killed, and he was the one who received the most blows to him. So they think that it was the mom and dad who were killed first, and then the kids upstairs, and then he went down, he or she, whoever it was, went down
Probably
to...
he.
Yeah.
Yeah, most likely, not to be sexist, but
right.
most likely
Then,
he.
then it was the 2 little girls downstairs that were found. And then I think then the killer went back up to the dad and hit a couple more blows. Because he was found...
After he was already, like, incapacitated?
Yes. Ooh. Because he was found the one that was most bludgeoned, and he literally didn't have any eyes. Like, they couldn't find his eyes. That's how bad it was. Yep.
I'm gonna vomit.
Yep. And it was shown that all of kids and the parents were sleeping when they got attacked, but the only one that they think was alive and, like, awake during it was Lena. She was the one that was found on her side, and she had defense wounds, like, on her arm from it.
Baby.
And
was
then
she the 8-year-old or the 12-year-old?
She was a 12-year-old.
Oh.
And it is presumed that she may have been molested beforehand because her nightgown was pushed up and she didn't have any undergarments on.
And she was the oldest one, so
Yep.
That makes sense, but oh my god, that's
right?
so awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. So the time of death for all of them was after 12 a.m., and it was with some of the evidence and stuff that they found. So they found 2 spent cigarette butts up in the attic, and they were thinking that the killer was in the attic before, like, the family actually got home, and they were literally just sitting in wait in the attic for the family to go to bed
so it
to
must
come
have
and kill them.
Oh, so it must have been someone who, like, knew the family then, or at least, like, would have been able to go into the house without, like, people noticing or thinking it was weird. That is so creepy.
Yeah. But, like, so some of the weird things that were found at the crime scene, so all of the curtains in the house were drawn. The rooms that didn't have curtains, there were, like, sheets and whatever put up around those windows so nobody could see in. So they actively put things up to make sure that nobody could see into the house.
So would they have... So obviously if the family came home to that, right? So if this person was, like, waiting... And the family came home to that, that'd be weird. So did they do that
I'm sure
when they were
did
asleep?
I'm assuming so. I'm assuming they probably closed the curtains before the
sneaky
family
hung up everything while everyone was asleep.
Yeah. And then killed the family. And then all of the bodies were found with blankets or something covering their faces.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
He, like, didn't want to look at them.
Nope.
It was just... Can I interject with a really quick story? Just because I'm thinking about someone, like, hiding in my attic. So I heard this crazy story about this guy. Excuse you.
Sorry.
I heard this crazy story about this guy in Colorado. He was, I think he was homeless, and he moved into this house and, like, snuck into the attic right before... It was either, like, right after or right before the owners bought the house. And what he would do is, while the owners were gone, he would climb down into the house and, like, eat food out of their trash can while they were gone so that he wouldn't be noticed, because he was homeless, he had nowhere else to go, it was getting cold outside, and he just, like, lived in the attic, and he would move around when the family who owned the house wasn't there, and, like, eat stuff out of the garbage. And then he got so bored with that he would start to try to, like, climb down into the house and, like, follow them while they were home as a freaking, like, game to entertain himself. He would try to see how long he could go without anyone noticing he was there.
Oh,
while
my gosh.
they were home.
Nope.
He lived in their attic for, like, 6 months. And he finally got caught, and I can't remember the details. It was so crazy. He finally got caught because they heard something in the attic, and they went and stuck, like, their phone up into, like, the crawl space to get into the attic.
Oh, Lord.
And they took I gave myself chills. They took a picture, and when they looked at their phone, they saw this, like, gaunt, emaciated, like, old man.
Oh, no.
Crouching in their freaking attic.
That would be so terrifying.
Oh, my God. And Anders and I were just laughing about this tonight because he was putting up the light in our closet, and he, like, thought he heard scratching in the ceiling. He's like, what if someone's living in our attic? And I'm like,
that's not funny.
Like, you probably don't want me to tell you the story, but I heard this story about this guy, and they called him, like, the Spider-Man of wherever in Colorado. I can't remember, but, like, he literally lived there for, like, 6 months.
Nope. Gross.
That's like something out of a horror movie where you like
Yes.
stick your phone up into the attic and then you see this like underweight, creepy old man like ooh, like in the dark. Oh my god.
Oh,
So after, of course, they like found him and they brought him down. And he admitted to all this stuff,
Yeah.
and he basically was like, "Yeah, I would just like follow them around the house and see how far I could get without them noticing, and I would like eat the garbage while they were home." And he just like hung out in their attic for forever.
Oh my gosh.
So
That makes me not want a house now.
I,
So, thank you for that.
No. You know what you do? You don't get like a home that's like not been lived in before you move in.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right? Just like get something where the previous owners move out and you move right in, and there's no opportunity for like creepy old homeless men to move into your attic.
I suppose.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Anyway, sorry, that just is what made someone hiding out in the attic made me think of that story, and I literally was just talking about it with Anders earlier tonight. So
gross.
Anyway.
It's terrifying.
Okay, so back to horrible child death.
Yeah,
and
so
murder.
terrible child death. So other weird things. So the axe was found in the little girl's room, Lena and Ina's room, and it looked like the blood had been wiped off of the axe, and the axe actually belonged to Josiah,
the father's brother.
No,
the father.
Ross
Okay.
is the father's brother.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep.
Yeah. And then the other weird thing, which I don't... So it had to have been someone in the family or someone who could get into the house, but all of the doors were locked.
Okay.
So either the person went back up into the attic or they had a key to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a killer trying to get out, you can't lock it unless it's the handle lock.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I said before where it's like if they were able to get into the attic and wait. They were up there waiting. They probably knew the family.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, otherwise, why would they just go and, like, randomly sneak into a house and sit and wait to murder, like, 8 people randomly? If you're going to go and murder random people, you're just going to bust in and kill whoever's there. You're not going to sit and hide out in the attic for
Obviously
hours.
It was planned.
Yeah, it had to have been premeditated.
Yeah.
So.
And then this one, I don't know how much of it I believe, but there was a slab of bacon.
Oh, I heard this.
By the axe that was wrapped in a towel. And there was the same slab found in the freezer.
I mean...
And then there, I believe in the kitchen, there were used, like, it was like a used dinner plate and bowl. So the person must have eaten something.
He, like, murdered everyone and then, like, had
it's a possibility.
A meal afterwards. Like...
I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember hearing about the story a while ago, and I didn't remember the details.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember hearing about the bacon piece.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, why?
He, like, thawed himself a snack so that he could, like, make some bacon quick after killing everybody?
Guess so. But I'm pretty sure it was just raw bacon in a towel.
That's so weird. Of all the things.
Right? Like, I'm gonna kill your family and then put a slab of bacon in this room. Like,
in a towel.
What?
Not just on the floor. In a towel.
Right? Like, what the hell? I
mean... I don't know. There's no explanation for that. I mean,
it's freaking weird.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But then again, what kind of state of mind are you in to again murder like a 5-year-old little boy with an axe and his whole family and Lena and Ina, the cute little sisters?
I know.
But bacon, it's super weird. It's random. Yeah. For sure.
So they also found all of the chimneys and heating was off. And then by the foot of Lena and Ina's bed, there was a lantern, as well as upstairs. I can't remember whose room it was. It may have been the parents' room. That there was a lantern at the end of the bed as well.
It was lit?
Think so.
Okay.
So, because of all of the people who walked through, there were multiple suspects for this case. So
turn it into a museum, why don't you?
Pretty much.
Who wants to walk through and take a look at all the dead bodies?
Exactly.
Like, so
here
crazy.
They are. So the main suspect was Reverend George Kelly. So he was tried twice for the murders. The first one the first one was a hung jury. The second one he was acquitted.
This is dumb, but what's a hung jury?
Hung jury is that the jury couldn't come to a decision.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're just
it was essentially like half and half. What people thought that he was guilty and half thought that he was.
Did they say why he was put on trial in the first place? Like, why was he ever suspected?
Yep. So he was an English-born traveler. He was a minister that was in town the night of the murders. So he was actually there for the children's.
Oh no, the thing they went to before they went home.
Yep. So he was there for that. So in his past, he was accused of peeping and asking young girls and women to pose nude for him.
Like a peeping Tom.
Peeping Tom.
But a peeping
Reverend
Kelly.
George Kelly.
A peeping Kelly.
Gross. So, like I said, he came to teach at the Children's Day, and the reasoning why he was suspected is because he left around 5 a.m. the day after the murders.
Mm-hmm.
And they were suspected to be killed somewhere between 12 and 5.
So did they know he was a pervert, like, after he taught at this kid? Like, did they know and they just, like, let him be a happy, like, Sunday school priest guy?
Probably.
They're like, well, you're a peeping Tom and a pervert, but we don't have anyone else to teach the class, so you want to come, like, hang out and teach the word of God to these, like, 5-year-olds?
It was in 1912, so
I suppose
times were a little different.
Okay.
But he confessed to the murders, but the jury didn't believe his confession.
Wow. He must have been pretty unconvincing.
Right? Like, he's known to have a mental illness, and it was found that he was obsessed with the murders, like, after finding out about it. Mm-hmm. And he had claimed to have heard sounds and witnessed the murder. So, like, he just thought that he knew what happened.
So he witnessed himself doing the murder?
He thought that he witnessed, like, the actual murders happening.
Oh, like, from his perspective.
Him actually murdering or
like he like watched someone else do it or something?
Yeah.
What?
Which, I mean, all of the windows were closed, so
I'm confused by his story. I guess right? I can see why it was a hung jury. Yeah, that's very confusing.
So then, 2 years after the murders, he was arrested for sending obscene material through the mail to, I think it was like young girls. Again,
Ew.
And he was still obsessed with the murders.
Kelly!
Right?
Get it together,
man.
So
he was sent to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, which was a mental institution, and was arrested and interrogated again for hours upon hours for the murders. He confessed again, but then he recanted his confession. And so he was essentially then acquitted because he's been going back and forth with his confession.
Don't people typically recant their confession when they feel like it's been like forced or like under duress? Like,
I think so.
And I mean, you don't like voluntarily give a confession and be like, actually, I changed my mind. Like usually when people recant, it's because they're like, the police forced me into it, or like I was held without food and water.
There's a show on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but it literally, I just had it. But it's stories of people who supposedly didn't do crimes.
They gave false confessions.
But they gave false confessions.
Okay.
And it's super interesting because it's like they've been under interrogation for hours upon hours, and that's what Reverend Kelly was under. He was under interrogation for hours and hours.
But didn't he come forward to like admit to it?
Yes.
In the first place?
Yes.
Like he chose to do that.
Well, but he confessed to the murders when it actually happened. And then confessed again
of his
2
own
years
volition.
later. Yes. Confessed again 2 years later and then recanted it. It's like you can't keep going back and forth.
No, and like the first time you came forward of your own will and just like voluntarily confessed to, it's not like he was being like tortured or like hell. That's so weird.
Yeah.
So clearly this guy
there
has like a mental health issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because he was put in St. Elizabeth's Hospital, so
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
There's that. So he was the main suspect in it. There were a couple other suspects that I'm not gonna go into super detail because to me they weren't like nothing stood out except for one other person. So I'll talk a little about there was Andrew Sawyer. So there was really no evidence linked to him. The only thing that was really linked was that he was super interested in the murder after it happened, and he said that he knew how the murderer got away. And he told some other guy in the town that the murderer crossed the railroad tracks, and there's footprints behind the railroad tracks that led to this tree where the murderer stayed, and then the next day left in the railroad.
Did they ever find any tracks?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So made the whole thing up.
Exactly.
Okay.
And his alibi was fine because he was found, like, there were people saying that he was in Osceola, Iowa, the night of the murders.
Okay.
So there was just nothing.
You just get these, like, weird obsessed people who, like, want their 15 minutes of fame for murdering 8 people. Of all the things to be famous for, pick something else.
Exactly.
Be like, I was a part of that celebrity sex affair. Not like I murdered a whole family.
I murdered everyone. Yeah. This is great. Oh. Another person was Frank Jones. So Josiah had worked for this guy, and then Josiah decided to open up his own shop. And so Frank thought that Josiah was taking business away from him, so it could have been motivation for Frank to kill the family, but there wasn't enough evidence.
But no.
Some other people were Henry Lee Moore, Sam Moyer, and Paul Mueller. There really wasn't a whole lot of information on them. But one other suspect that was super, I want to say, based on the evidence and the things that I read, all this other information was from Wikipedia, that it's a possibility that this guy did it. So his name is William Mansfield. It's a theory that a senator hired him to kill the Moores. I don't know what senator, why. There wasn't really a backstory that I could find.
Was the family, like, involved in politics?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. So, he was believed to be a serial killer. Because
the guy he hired or the senator?
The guy he hired.
Okay.
So this is William Mansfield. Was believed to be a serial killer because he murdered his wife, infant child,
oh my God,
and parents-in-law with an axe 2 years after the Villisca murders. And then he was also suspected of a double murder with, I think it was like a Jennifer and someone else, these 2 girls that were carried out the same way as his family and the Moore family. So they were all bludgeoned to death. They were all killed with an axe. They all had the lanterns in the houses, and all of their faces were covered with a blanket or something to cover their face.
But did they have bacon and a towel? Is my question.
Have bacon and a towel.
It's just not the same without a slab of bacon.
Right? I know.
Wrapped in a towel. I'm sorry.
It's
I shouldn't
like
joke.
A murder
it's really
without
terrible.
A slab of bacon. So
but, I mean, yeah. Okay, but that's an uncanny coincidence.
And so that, like, just the coincidences between the Moores, his family, and this other murder.
But did the Moores happen first?
The Moores happened first.
So could that have been inspired by that? Could he have been like a copycat killer?
I mean, it's a possibility, but the thing is all of these locations that these families and people, like, were killed, it was on a railroad track. So they think that they may have killed the Moores because he was found, like, his alibi and where he was found in each of these cities at the time of the murders.
So not an alibi.
No.
A really bad alibi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's said that they used the railroad. And with, like, going back to, like, I think it was like a Criminal Minds episode. No. It was, it's a show on Netflix, Unbelievable. It's about this serial rapist who goes around, but he only rapes one person in one county, goes to a different one, and moves on. So
impossible
they think,
to track.
So they think it's one rapist, one person, like, going around.
Well, and because police departments didn't used to talk to each other.
Exactly.
They didn't have, like, shared records. It was, like, part of one county and then another county, which makes no sense at all.
No.
Like, oh, as soon as the criminal crosses county lines, then it must be a different criminal. Like, it's like criminals are going to adhere to freaking county lines or whatever.
Exactly.
But they didn't have a great way of, like, sharing information.
Yeah.
So
that's
a good way to do it if you're going to be a serial rapist. Like,
Yeah. Okay. So it's a possibility that because it was from town to town, they used a railroad system to be able to go to each family. And so that's one that I just, based on
could be
the murders, how it happened, and the evidence, I personally think is what actually happened.
Okay.
So
Have there been other people living in the house since the murder then, or is it kind of
No,
been...
it is converted into a museum now. So you can go on to, I think it's the VilliscaIowa.com, and they actually do tours. And you can tour the house. If you search pictures, they have like a board outside saying the Villisca Axe Murder House.
Fun.
And you can go and like do tours and stuff.
Yeah, you can stay overnight.
We should do that.
I checked. It's $428.
A night?
Yes.
Okay, maybe not.
But it's for a group of 1 to 6 people. So if you find 5 other friends to go with you...
You, me, Ben Anders.
Great.
Let's go.
Can we bring Ghost and he'll pay for a part of the share?
Yeah, that would come out of ours.
He makes the paycheck, right?
No.
Oh.
That's my dog, by the way.
He's cute.
He's a little black lab.
Yeah, he's so
my
cute.
baby.
Ghost. But yeah,
That's
so it's
odd.
apparently it's for like groups of 1 to 6. You can stay overnight.
Okay, that's not bad.
So, good job.
Thank you.
Good history. Very
Thanks.
interesting.
I try.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about post-murder and post-renovation. And actually, I answered my own question. There have been people that have lived there prior to renovation. I don't know why I asked you that. I know that because I took freaking notes on it and momentarily had amnesia and forgot about the fact that I actually did research this topic.
Oh, gosh.
So I got a lot of my information from Wikipedia and then the Villisca Axe Murder House website, like you mentioned, and then another website called Vice.com. So, So like I said, you can do overnight tours. You can also do daylight tours. You can do nighttime tours. The house has been very famous, obviously, because of the fact it's an unsolved murder, so people are fascinated by it, and it's been featured in a lot of different TV shows. So Ghost Adventures has done an episode there. Scariest places on Earth, most terrifying places in America. A bunch of TV shows have done stuff there. And there's been a couple of books written about it. And there was also, in 2016, a horror movie called The Axe Murders of Villisca, which I checked. It didn't get very good reviews.
Perfect.
But it is a movie made about the house.
Oh.
And the director of the movie claimed that he had his first ever paranormal experience there in the house while they were spending the night. So he was doing some research on the house for filming. And claimed that the first time he ever experienced anything paranormal was at the house.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's obviously been enough to like gather the attention of a lot of people. Not quite as popular as like Amityville or the Conjuring series, but it's been enough to draw a lot of attention. So there's been a lot of paranormal investigators that have gone there and have caught both like audio and video stuff.
That's cool.
On camera. It's pretty interesting. So, like I said, I totally forgot about, but also took notes on. So the house got renovated in 1994, and prior to that, there were at least 3 documented cases of paranormal activity that happened in the house. And all these claims came from like former tenants, so most people were renting. So claims include seeing the figure of a shadowy man standing with an axe at the foot of their bed.
Makes sense.
We've talked about this before.
Yep.
Waking up to someone standing at the foot of your bed is like the ultimate nightmare.
Terrifying.
So scary. Not
Awful.
cool. People have reported finding their shoes filled with blood.
Yeah. So that actually, it was found, so there was a shoe found next to the father, and it filled with blood.
No shit.
Yeah.
Like, in the actual case.
Yes, in the actual case.
Okay, because I remember reading that detail and being like, that's super random.
Yep.
Okay.
So it was a shoe. I remember reading about it. I think it was the dad's shoe was like it fell off. I can't remember the full details, but it was right next to it. And when the dad first got axed, I believe his arm was off the bed, I think, and then blood dripped into the shoe.
Okay.
And it was filled with blood.
So that's fucking terrifying because that's what people report seeing is like their shoes filled with blood, and they would report that their shoes would like move to the middle of the room on their own or then like tip over and spill blood.
That's terrifying.
Which I feel like if that happens, like you better take a picture.
I mean,
of
that's
that.
like a full. I feel like that's like a full hallucination, like to see your shoe filled with blood and then tip over and like come back into the room and it's like in the middle of the room on its own, filled with blood. Like that is a really intense, like paranormal thing to see. And I feel like if that were me, the first thing I'd do is like go take a video. I would go take a video and take like 100 pictures and then leave and be like, look, I'm not lying. Here's the freaking proof. Promise.
So I don't know. I wasn't able to find anything more on that, but apparently that's what the former tenants reported. So I don't know if it's one of those things like in horror movies where people like see something horrifying and then they like scream and then they open their eyes and it never happened.
Yeah.
Could be one of those situations.
Like a night hallucination or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One night, one of the tenants reported that their closet doors were opening and closing on their own, and then later that same night, neighbors to the house reported that the tenants actually came running out of the house screaming at 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
So
see, and that's like complete opposite of like The Conjuring and the Amityville, is that actual neighbors are witnessing this happening.
Yeah, right. Like someone else saw them come running out of the house. I think one of the people that lived in the Conjuring house, because I remember reading about this guy that like came running out of the house naked and like left all his stuff there.
Yeah. Yep.
But with the Amityville house, all the neighbors were like, we never heard anything. I don't know. So yeah, they came running out of the house screaming at 3 a.m. Other tenants reported that their children would wake up at night to the sound of other children crying, like children who didn't live there, which of course they're Lena, Nina, and Paul, little babies, all got murdered.
That's so sad.
I know. So they would hear other children crying, and the same tenants claim that they would often come home to their clothes like strewn about the room, as though there was someone like frantically digging through their dresser drawers.
Mm-hmm.
And the father of that same family claimed that, so the daughter of this person was on the episode of Ghost Adventures, and she said that she like, I don't know if she saw it or if she just knew the story, but she said her father was in the kitchen like sharpening a knife, like scraping it against like the sharpening stick or whatever, and all of a sudden his hand went like straight sideways and he like stabbed himself in the thumb.
Oh my gosh.
Like it wasn't like a oops, I slipped and cut my thumb. It was like I'm sharpening my knife and then I stabbed myself in the thumb. And she said it looked like there was someone putting pressure down on his wrist, like holding his hand in place.
Oh my Lanta.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, like it was like a forceful, intentional stabbing, not like a oops, I slipped. Like I held your wrist down and stabbed you with a knife.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Maybe let's not go there.
I know, it's a little bit scary.
Holy crap.
Maybe we'll go for the daytime tour.
That's
I don't know about the $428 overnight tour.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that.
It's expensive and scary
I'd sleep
sounding.
with olive lights on.
You're definitely not going to want to... Okay, I'll get to it, but you definitely are not going to want to go overnight after I tell you this next thing. Okay, so the first paranormal investigators started visiting the house in 1999. So not until after it was renovated did people start, like, doing the whole paranormal investigation thing. I don't know if it was just because it was kind of like a new fad or if the people didn't really know about the house until it was renovated or what.
Yeah.
But... basically, everyone that's gone there has claimed that the house was haunted. There's been a number of different psychics that have confirmed the presence of spirits in the house. And Martha Lynn, who's the owner, who renovated the house, says that... so she has basically like a guest logbook. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the lighthouse that you stayed in with Ben, where there's like a logbook.
Yeah.
And says that like guests and visitors regularly report emotional and physical disturbances when they stay overnight, and that almost everyone writes that they experience at least something unexplainable while they're there. Like,
oh my gosh.
Very few people leave an entry without saying, like,
crazy.
This creepy thing happened. So, like, people have written that they've heard children's voices, they've seen lamps falling over, have heard loud banging sounds. Loud banging sounds. Moving ladders. I don't know why there's ladders.
Oh, okay. Well.
But ladders are moving, and then there's objects, like, flying around the house.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So
it sounds like a hot mess of a house.
It's definitely a hot spot of paranormal activity.
Perfect.
Yeah, super creepy. So, like I said, Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins did an episode there. The episode is called The Villisca Axe Murder House, and it was aired in December of 2010. And as a fun fact, it was the first episode in the entire series to feature a viewer discretion advised warning.
Oh.
So shit got real with this episode.
I haven't seen this episode.
I know, we need to watch it after this. I've seen it, Anna hasn't, and it's super creepy. It's super creepy. And like these shows are so cheesy, but this one legitimately had a moment that like literally freaked me out so bad, and I'm gonna show you it in a minute, and I'm so excited. So,
I don't know if I want to watch it yet.
You're going to want to watch it. It's so good. So, during the episode, Zach interviews a couple of other paranormal investigators who have been to the house. So, like, local paranormal experts who live nearby and have been there. 2 of which caught voices on their spirit boxes. So, the devices that play the radio stations at high frequencies. And they pick up, like, voices coming through on top of all the white noise.
Yep.
And one of the recordings shows an investigator asking, like, who's with you? And a voice almost immediately responds with what sounds a lot like Reverend Kelly. And he says it like 3 times in a row, like, Reverend Kelly, Reverend Kelly, Reverend Kelly.
got full body tingles and chills right
and it's
now.
so creepy. And I thought it was one of those hokey
Oh,
moments where maybe
gosh.
they just replayed the same clip 3 times in a row just to show it. But like, but they show the guy standing there asking like, "Who's with you?" And like, it's not like it's replaying the same clip. Oh my God, it's my kid. It's Lucy.
Lucy's, come here.
Hi, babies. Anna needs a friend. She's scared.
I got the chills.
She got the chills.
Oh.
So it looks like it's just saying like Reverend Kelly 3 times over, and Reverend Kelly is the guy who admitted to the murders. Who like we don't really believe him, but at the same time it's super creepy.
With that, it probably is.
And it very much sounds like Kelly. Pretty clear that that's what it's saying. So that's really creepy. The same investigator later, he commanded the spirit to reveal itself, and it responded with something that they interpreted as the word legion. Which, if you go into like the biblical references, like legion is the name of, it's like a phrase used to describe like a host of demons.
Oh.
Like a legion of demons, an army of demons, and that's like legion is the name of like demons that is often referenced in other like exorcisms. When they like ask the demon to name itself, it'll say like legion. Good Lord. Yeah, super creepy. And then the same guy, and this part really freaked me out too. Lucy's so cuddly. He got a baby cuddles. Hi. I know, she knew it was too scary. She knew he needed some friendship.
He needed some help.
So the same investigator that heard Reverend Kelly and like Legion being said, he later said he felt like he was like hit in the chest, like someone smacked him with a baseball bat.
Oh.
Or with the blunt side of an axe, maybe. And he pulled up his shirt later and he had 3 like scratch marks on his back. Like some horror movie bullshit. And
oh gosh.
The scratch marks were kind of like pulled off at an angle so that it kind of looked like they were forming the letter L.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Whether or not that's just like Hollywood drama, I don't know, but it's creepy. So the person who lives next to the house, at least in 2010 when the episode was aired, claimed that the energy from the house was actually so strong that he felt like it was bleeding over into his house and it is negatively impacting his family.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty intense.
Holy crap. That's super intense.
Yeah, super intense. Zach and his team used some recording equipment to capture EVPs. So we've talked about that before, electric voice phenomena.
Yeah.
And he picked up a voice of a man. And it's interesting because they had, I think it was a police officer. It was one of the guys who helped investigate the original case. Or not the original case because that was in like 1912, but he was considered like an officer that had been assigned to like the open case.
Okay.
And he came with them to the house because he wasn't a believer in anything paranormal, and they were kind of talking, and as that officer was talking, you hear this voice very clearly saying something that starts with like, "I killed." What comes after that is a little bit like up to interpretation because the police officer's like talking while it gets picked up, but they all listen to it over and over again, and it sounds like he's saying, "I killed 6 kids." Like, "I killed 6 kids." Like,
stop it!
With like breaks in between, as though it was someone like breathing heavily, like panting, like, "I killed 6 kids."
No.
And there were 6 kids in the family, or 6 kids staying in the house that got murdered. I gave myself chills.
Stop it.
And then there was a separate EVP that was caught later that it sounded like someone saying the names of Lena and Paul.
No!
Which, I know, not Lena and Ina. Lena and Paul, which are two of the murdered kids from the original case. Oh. I know. So they're asking, like, who's here? And it was like, Lena and Paul. It's really sad. So the team asked who murdered them. And they picked up another EVP that said something that sounded a lot like Andy. Who was...
he was the first guy.
Yeah, he's one of the suspects in the case.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they heard Reverend Kelly and they heard Andy. And again, like, if you go into it with this knowledge in mind, I feel like it's easy to take a sound and make it fit
absolutely.
What you're expecting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, they picked up so many different things. I feel like so many of these episodes of these shows, they're there for like 4 hours, and they maybe, if they're lucky, get like one little thing that like maybe sounds like something. They got like 6.
That's ridiculous.
It's a lot.
And it's all accurate to what is known of the actual house.
It fits the actual case, and they're not the only people that have ever found it. Like, other paranormal investigators have gone and got their own EVPs and stuff. Yeah. So it's very creepy. And now I'm going to show you a clip because this is also from the episode, and it like legitimately freaked me out so bad. It is so creepy. And I think, Anna hasn't seen this, so I want to show you. This is one of the other things I picked up on footage while they were staying at the house, while Zach and his team were at the house. So I want to see Anna's reaction in real time.
Here we go.
Our EVP analysis made even a skeptic like Roy Marshall take notice. Meanwhile, back over in the empty house, we captured something shocking on our motion-activated night vision camera as we were all analyzing the audio in the barn next door.
Holy shit.
Do you hear those footsteps?
Yeah.
And what really shocked us is that right before the door slammed shut, you can hear these unexplained footsteps approaching it.
Holy shit.
It is so creepy because...
That's ridiculous.
So obviously you guys can't see what we're seeing, but like it's literally, you hear like clomp, clomp, and then a door like quickly slams shut.
Yeah.
It doesn't like slowly, you know, like
it just is like, I'm gonna slam fucking shut.
I'm done with this door.
Holy
it's not
balls.
like a door slowly creaking shut because the hinge is loose. It like literally slams.
Yes, like someone
shut
is actively shutting it.
with two very clear footsteps on the audio.
Gosh.
Isn't that so
That's
creepy?
so cool.
It's so creepy.
Oh,
I know. I
gosh.
like was watching.
That's so great.
I was upstairs and Andres was doing something downstairs, and I was like, I'm gonna go watch this episode, and I went and watched it upstairs alone in our bedroom, and I was like, this is so creepy. This is just like a horror movie. Like someone was legit recording that, like in real life.
Crazy.
It was super creepy.
Jeez.
So Zach, at the end of the visit, he basically called it like the most intense case of like good versus evil that he'd ever come across. It was really, really intense, and the episode was really upsetting. Like two of the people that used to live in the house, the person who said that their dad was sharpening their knife in the kitchen and got stabbed in the thumb, like her and her sister came back to the house, and they both came in and were like, they started like sweating, and they were like upset, and they had to like leave, and they went outside, and they were both like crying and like pacing around outside, like, I don't want to be here. I'm like, I wanted to come back to help, and they were apologizing to Zach, saying like, I'm really sorry, like I ruined your interview, and he's like, no, it's okay, we understand, and like, we just didn't expect it to be this hard coming back here.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how like traumatized they were.
Holy crap.
They came in and they had to like sit down, and they like couldn't breathe, and they were like crying, and they're like, they got all sweaty. It was just like really, really intense.
That's super tight.
Physical reaction. So it was a really intense episode. And then my favorite part, which is why we're not going to stay overnight, and because you were worried about the knife stabbing thing. Well, guess what?
Someone got stabbed.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep. In 2014,
cool.
November 7th, Robert Stephen Larson Jr. from Wisconsin, who was 37 years old, came to visit the house with a group of his friends on just like a recreational for fun paranormal investigation.
Okay, well.
Just like you and I would do if we were going. And they participated in an overnight tour.
Okay.
And at about 12:45 a.m., Robert called for help on a, quote, mobile two-way radio. So, like a walkie-talkie? Like, what else? What the hell else do you call a mobile two-way radio? In my mind, it's a freaking walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
So he calls from the northwest bedroom where he had gone off to explore by himself. When his friends got there, they found him with a self-inflicted stab wound to the chest.
Oh my gosh.
Supposedly self-inflicted. There was no one else there. It was so severe he had to be airlifted to a nearby hospital where he was in intensive care for several days.
Holy crap.
He refuses to this day to comment on the situation. I looked at probably 20 different websites trying to find any more information on it, but like according to the police, it all happened around 12:45 a.m., which is when roughly when the original murder was guesstimated to have happened back in 1912. So he basically just had this mysterious, unexplained like stab wound. Like everyone in his family was like, "There's no way he wasn't suicidal. Like we don't understand." And to just randomly stab yourself in a bedroom in the chest. In a haunted house at 12:45 in the morning when the original murder happened, like he may not have even known the details, like of what time. It's not like you would just go there and do that. I don't know. To do that on purpose is so is really intense. So yeah, there was a stabbing. So unless
actually you just take all the knives out.
Well, maybe I don't know. Yeah, and so I'm like, so was it a knife then? Like, what did he stab himself with? Because like, where the hell did he get a knife?
Right.
So I don't know. The details were fuzzy. They didn't go into a lot of the details of how it actually happened, but. So, like, Martha, the woman who, like, renovated the house and, like, opened it up for tourism or whatever, she's like, you know, it's publicity, but I really hope that people don't think that when they come here, like, they're gonna get stabbed. Like,
Poor Martha.
I don't want people to, like, not come here because they think something bad will happen. I mean, it's probably gonna be fine, so.
But every once in a while,
You know, you might end up airlifted to the hospital. It's fine. It's like a 1 in
Oh
100
my
type
gosh.
situation, so.
Oh, no, thank you.
So yeah, those are some of the most kind of notable hauntings of the property that I
That's
could find,
terrifying.
and I thought that stabbing was particularly creepy because there's
Yeah.
just this person there with his friends, and
Good Lord.
he had to two-way radio for help.
Good old walkie-talkie.
No, it's a according to the police,
radio.
it was a two-way mobile radio.
Mobile radio.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
That's
So
what I got.
crap.
So thanks, Jim, for the really good suggestion.
Right? This house was awesome.
It had so much. It had a little bit of everything. It was really fun to research and
Yeah.
discover, and I felt like we both had a lot to talk about. So.
Holy crap, it was great.
It was super good.
So good. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it. All right. So on to our next segment. Viewers like you sending in your awesome
PBS. Thanks to viewers like you.
your awesome
listeners like you.
Yeah,
Viewers?
listeners, because
Yeah.
you guys don't view us.
I guess you're like staring at your
So,
computer screen. I don't know.
Yeah. So this one wasn't actually sent in. So I am part of a Facebook group. It's called the North Shore Tribe. So I absolutely love being up at the North Shore, up in Duluth, Grand Portage area. So it's just a Facebook group of people to be able to just post pictures of just like wildlife and how beautiful it is up there and everything. So this post was posted a couple days before Halloween. It was made by this guy, Ted. He posted it on there, and I messaged him the next day or whatever, saying, "Hey, I read your story. I was wondering if I could put it on our podcast."
Oh, hey.
Just some random chick messaging you on Facebook.
But
to
he
see-
responded.
Yeah, he did. So thank you, Ted, so much. I hope you're listening to this episode. So he allowed us to read his story, which I'm super excited about because it's actually kind of creepy
Can't wait to hear
and
it.
super weird.
Is it like woods type? Like,
No, it's actually in Canal Park.
oh.
So it's not
like in Duluth.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not like in the woods,
Okay.
but there's this old, I think it's like a mausoleum or something. I don't know. I like it. I'll post a picture that I took years ago down there of it. It's like it's a pretty creepy picture, but it's actually really cool. So anyways, so his story, thank you, Ted. He said, I was staying in the Suites Hotel somewhat by Canal Park. We just settled in for the night and went to bed in one of the bigger suites. After I fell asleep, I had a crazy dream that involved some creepy, gruesome-looking bearded man that picked up my 9-year-old son at the time and started walking into Superior with him from a rock beach. I kept telling him to stop, but he didn't. He would just turn and creepily stare at me for a minute, then turn back and continue to walk further into the lake. It was very vivid and weird, so much so that I can still picture the dream today, and that was about 3 years ago. I woke up almost in a panic and looked over at my son, who had been sleeping in a different room, was sleeping right next to me. He woke up when I had woke up from my dream because I kind of yelled as I came to, and he looked over at me and said, Dad, why did you carry me into your bed last night? I was like, what the fuck? Then a few hours later, I went down to score some continental breakfast.
You take advantage of it. You're going to pay for the hotel.
Exactly, I'm getting my breakfast.
Yeah.
Walked up to the elevator and it opened by itself before I pushed a button. Walked in and my name, Ted, was carved into the wall of the elevator.
Shut
was
the
freaking
front
crazy.
door.
Yeah.
What?
Right? How?
What? Oh my god!
Like this bearded man coming to you in your dreams, taking your son into the lake. And then your name is carved.
Why did you carry me to bed last night? Oh my god, was he the creepy bearded man?
Well, he was carrying his child into his bed.
Yeah, what the
But
oh my god.
Good lord. Seriously. So he said, it was freaking crazy. To boot, that night was rainy. I opened up the curtains to see about 12 of the biggest spiders I've ever seen crawling on the outside of the window. That probably creeped me out more than anything.
What the fuck? Like Mother Nature's like, fuck you, Ted. Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna make this all. Oh my god.
Pretty much. So he said, figured with the murders at the Galician the old history of Duluth and all the lost souls in Superior. Perhaps some of you have experienced weird phenomenon as well.
Wow.
I think the Grecian is the thing I was talking about.
The mausoleum thing?
Yeah.
We should look that up and do some research on that.
But
Wow,
yeah,
that is
so
so creepy.
Right?
Wow.
Like when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, just to open the blinds and have 12?
Yeah,
12?
no.
To have one spider, sure, but like 12, that's a lot. Spiders don't just like congregate.
No.
That's
and to
so
all
creepy.
Congregate at your window.
That's so...
Right?
I just had the biggest full body chill.
Oh my gosh. I believe there's so much history and haunting and ghosts in Superior and up in Duluth.
Oh, there have to be. I mean, and the lighthouses and the ships and
shipwrecks and people and just the history and everything.
Yeah, and they're older towns up north.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fascinating. Good story.
Right?
Thank
it was great. So thanks, Ted. I appreciate it. We want to hear from you guys, so send in your stories so we can talk about this and you guys can hear a real-time reaction to your stories. Sorry.
With some hiccups.
Got the hiccups.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have your story featured on the podcast, send it in. We've got an email address, nightmarenation19@gmail.com.
Send her in. Message us on the Facebook.
Facebook page also has a link to our email address, so check that out.
Yeah.
And then brand new to you is from our website on Buzzsprout, so nightmarenation.buzzsprout.com. Yeah? Yeah? Or buzzsprout.nightmarenation.
Let me look.
Google the podcast. I'm pretty sure it's like the third result for Nightmare Nation.
http:// nightmarenation.buzzsprout.com.
Okay, I was right. nightmarenation.buzzsprout.com. So check that out because now next to each episode there is a link for support the show. So we officially
support us, friends.
Support us. We officially have a Patreon account. It's really fun. We love bringing the podcast to you for free, but if you want to chip in like $2 to pay for our Taco Bell, we'll take it, and we appreciate any generosity you may feel inclined to give to us. And
so we can use it to pay for our hosting website too.
Yeah, that too.
That's cool.
Also Taco Bell.
Yeah, Taco Bell's good.
To fund our field trip to a haunted place.
We can go to the Villisca house.
I really don't want to get stabbed in the chest with a knife.
Okay, well.
Or in the thumb.
Okay.
Anti-stabbing.
I mean, I'd rather get in the thumb than
I just don't want to get stabbed.
Okay, well,
that seems to be a theme. Like, what's her face from the Parent Family Haunting got stabbed with a sewing needle, and people getting stabbed with knives.
Everyone's getting stabbed.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want to check out the link and check out our Patreon website, go ahead and feel free. If you like the podcast, subscribe, leave us a review.
Yeah.
Check us out on our many listening platforms and
let us know.
Send us your stories.
We love you guys.
Don't use a Ouija board.
Don't use it. Oh my gosh.
What?
One of my coworkers used an Ouija board on Halloween.
Shut the fuck up.
Yep, Aaliyah, if you're listening.
Oh my god.
I already yelled at you.
Does she listen to this podcast?
I asked her and she said that she hadn't listened to podcasts yet.
Okay, well she needs to and take our advice.
Yes.
Don't play with the freaking
don't
Ouija
do
board.
it. She's like, you're gonna get haunted by demons. She's like, I was fine. We asked if there were any spirits here and it went to no.
Like, well, who do you think answered? Here's what I don't understand. If you ask if there's spirits there, and it goes to no,
you got yourself a sarcastic spirit.
Doesn't that mean the spirit has to guide your hand to no?
Yep.
That's like a direct conflict.
Yes.
Of information.
Yep.
Like if it moves to no, a spirit moved it, so it's basically
obviously there
screwing with you.
Yep. Asshole.
Dick.
So don't use Ouija boards.
Don't do it. I forgot to tell you this too. So I just got back from a 9-day trip to Ireland. It was so fun with my husband. But so it brought me back to the very first episode with Eastern State Pen.
Yeah.
Because we talked about how it was a Quaker religion-based prison that was all about like silence and like separation and like solitude.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a really interesting prison in Dublin called the Kilmainham Jail, which has a really rich history behind it and just all the like civil uprisings that happened in Ireland. A lot of the like political people who were like arrested ended up being executed at that jail, so it has kind of a dark history too. But it was based on the same beliefs. It was like a Quaker-based religion. And
What?
Oh God,
That's cool.
My tour guide would murder me because he said it like 18,000 times and I can't remember. It was like the 3 S's. It was like separation, service, and like solitude or something like that.
Okay.
So it's basically the same principles that guided the creation of Eastern State Pen. So I thought that was really interesting.
That's really cool.
Because I went over to Ireland and like took this tour of this jail and I'm like, oh my God, that's just like Eastern State Pen. It's the same
so
concept.
weird.
So I thought that was fun.
Neat.
But,
that's cool.
yeah.
All right, friends. Until next time.
Yep.
Stay safe.
Don't use the Ouija board.
Don't get haunted.
Okay, bye.
Bye.